Hello friends and welcome to another week of our weekly League of Legends news recaps. My name is NormStorm and I'll be your guide on everything new this week within the League of Legends community. So without further ado, let's dive right into it. Starting off as per usual with our public beta environment, we got a new Anivia skin, Festival Queen Anivia for 975 RP, which also includes the release of a new Anivia summoner icon, finally. As well, there's a big Yordle update where all the splash arts and models are being adjusted so that Yordles only have 3 fingers, while the all-random, all-earth game mode has gone up for rotating game mode testing. Now for balance changes from this patch, Fizz has a higher AP ratio on his Q, his W's bleed has a longer duration and higher AP ratio, while his ultimate's auto pickup on miss is quote unquote less generous. For Cho'Gath, his previous PBE changes were brought back with the new ultimate. His ultimate can now stack up to 10 times, and he no longer loses half of his stacks on death. However, this does come at a cost. Only 5 of these total stacks can be from minions and non-epic monsters, champion kills no longer grant 2 stacks, and killing a minion or monster no longer refunds half of the mana cost or cooldown. As well, his bonus damage ratio is now 12% of his bonus health instead of 70% of his AP. Katarina has less magic resist, while Maokai's Q now has a scaling mana cost, and the saplings from his E no longer do damage upon landing, but they will still pull jungle camps. For more champion changes, Bard's Chimes now give him more movement speed, and Shaco's Jack-in-the-Box is now trigger when revealed by a ward, and can now be basic attacked from slightly longer range. Jin's ultimate has a less effective slow, while traps from Jin, Nidalee, Shaco, and Teemo will still get revealed by the red ward or the blue and red trinkets, but will no longer get disabled. As for Teemo specifically, his mushrooms now have a faint collision indicator surrounding the mushroom when visible to enemies, and can also be auto-attacked from slightly longer range. As for Ryze's E, the extra damage bonus effect for his Q has gone down. Meanwhile, for Kindred, the Raptor camp has been removed as a wolf mark target in her 0 to 2 mark tier, leaving only Scuttle Crab as a mark target while they have less than 3 marks. Now for some item changes, the Blade of the Ruined King saw some big changes but were later reverted, where it got less attack speed but more damage, lifesteal, and a minimum on-hit damage for his passive. For its active, the damage and self-heal portion were removed, but it still slows, and the movement speed steal duration was lowered, but is now increased by 1 second for each basic attack by the user for a maximum duration of 6 seconds. These changes are expected to come back for the 7.5 PBE cycle. For the Black Cleaver, it has changes to be more desirable for the tankier users, with some changes to its base stats and build path, while the Last Whisper now grants less attack damage but more armor pen, and now builds out of a long sword instead of a pickaxe. For more armor pen items, the Giant Slayer and Lord Dominic's passive was nerfed to now grant bonus damage for every 100 health difference instead of 50. Yumu's Ghostblade grants less lethality, while Ardent Censor's tooltip now lists the total amount of health drained over the duration of its passive effect. For our last page of balance changes, the item Knight's Vow had some changes, where some of its passive additional armor was moved to its flat armor, its build path was altered a little bit while the active cooldown was heavily buffed but then later reverted. But as well, we can see that we have a lot of mastery changes. We're starting with the Resolve tree. Fearless gives less resistances. For the Ferocity tree, Bounty Hunter grants less damage. Both values of Double-Edged Sword were brought down a bit, while Battle Trance now just caps at 3 seconds. And lastly, for our Cunning tree, Merciless does less increased damage, Meditation regens less mana, and Precision grants less penetration stats. Now moving on to our more generic community news, it's been about a week or 2 now since LCK players can stream on Twitch. Controversially, with Faker's stream they tested out an on-the-fly Korean to English translator. The execution was poorly received and SKT's coach has announced that to sort of make up for this, SKT players will be learning English. The Strongbow company has invested in LCL Team M19, formerly known as Albus Nox Luna, and the team has moved into a very nice and large comfortable gaming mansion. And for European Team Splyce, the NHL team Boston Bruins have invested in them. And in regards to our IEM World Championships event, it's been announced that North American representative Cloud9 will not be attending the event so that they can focus more on the North American LCS. Now to take a look at our roster changes, starting off in Europe with Team Vitality, they've done some swapping around with their roster, with support player Hachani becoming an analyst. Nukeduck has moved from mid lane to the support role to cover for him, while substitute jungler GBM has moved to the starting mid lane to fill for Nukeduck. For Challenger Team Misfits Academy, Pride Soccer has joined as a jungler, while Kadir has moved to the substitute role. Turkish TCL Team Dark Passage saw some changes with their coaching staff leaving, as well as Wickd replacing Bwipo in the top lane, and Obvious replacing Move in the jungle. And for Galatasaray Esports, top laner Broken Blade has been suspended for a couple of games, so Smoke will be briefly filling in his spot while jungler Nerroh has joined, replacing Kanani. And as well, coach Vorborg has joined, replacing Daisy X. And for our last roster change, Tomex and Otto have effectively swapped positions, with Tomex now being the head coach, while Otto is now the analyst for Team HalfNet Esports. Now for our news on the live servers or Riot games in general, we've had announcements for the 2017 World Championships and Mid-Season Invitational. Starting off with MSI, all major and wildcard regions will have one representative in it now. The tournament will start off with the 8 wildcard teams in 2 groups of 4, battling it out to move on to round 2, where they will face either the North American or LMS representative. The winners of that match will move on to the MSI group stage with the European, Korean, and Chinese representatives, while the losers of that match play in a series to determine who gets the final 6th place slot in the group stage. The highest placed wildcard team gets to have a second team from their region represent themselves at the World Championships. For the World Championships themselves, the LMS region will now be allowed a 3rd seed, while we'll have 9 wildcard teams. The group stages will consist of a guaranteed 3 Korean teams, and 2 Chinese, European, LMS, and North American teams, as well as the highest placed international wildcard region from MSI. The play-in rounds before the group stage will consist of 8 wildcard teams, number 1 from each wildcard region, and number 2 from the wildcard region that placed the highest of all the other wildcard regions at MSI, as well as the 3rd seed from NA, EU, China, and LMS. The playing will have 4 groups of 3 randomly drawn teams into a double round robin in best of ones, where the top 2 teams will make it to round 2. So 8 teams will make it into round 2, where our number 1 team will be paired with a random number 2 team, where they will play a best of 5 to determine which 4 teams move on to the group stage. And then from there, the World Championships is pretty much the exact same. As for our professional play, they now have a new rewind tool, where if a bug happens in-game, they can basically pause and then rewind the game to a point before the bug happened, and then continue playing the game as if nothing happened. Its first use was in NA during a FlyQuest vs Cloud9 game this week, where Fly's bot lane went in for a Malzahar MF ult combo on C9 Smoothie, but MF's ult had a visual bug, so they paused, so they rewinded it after a lengthy pause. And for our last stretch of live server news, normal draft mode is making its return to the Europe Nordic East servers, while a massive competitive ruling has suspended 16 players supposed to play in the Oceanic Challenger Series for either toxic in-game behavior or account boosting. 2 teams, Corvidae and Team Noxide, had only 1 player punished. 3 teams, Outlaws, Tainted Minds Blue, and Legacy Genesis, had 2 players punished. Sin Academy had 3 gamers punished, while the entire roster of Team Regicide had players punished, for a total of 7 teams being forced to make adjustments going into the upcoming OCS season. And lastly, Riot Games have filed a lawsuit against Time Warner Cable for effectively not providing the right amount of internet service advertised. And now it's time to take a look at this week's free champion rotation, where this week if you don't have Azir, Ekko, Fiddlesticks, Gangplank, Kog'Maw, Morgana, Nautilus, Olaf, Varus, or Xerath, you can now try before you buy. And on sale between now and Friday, February 17th are the skins Project Yasuo, Pool Party Lee Sin, Nemesis Jax and Desperada Cassiopeia, as well as the champions Lucian, Nautilus, Pantheon, and Veigar. Before wrapping up the show, let's take a look at the birthdays celebrated this past week within the League of Legends community. We're celebrating the birthdays this past week were Selfie, Raydeer, Vivid, Wild Turtle, Smoothie, Professor, Marin, and Slow. And that will do it for this week of the weekly League of Legends news update. My name is NormStorm, and not only do I thank you for watching this video, but also hope that you found it informative and entertaining. If you would like to know when more League of Legends news updates are uploaded, do not be afraid to subscribe to the channel or follow me on Twitter at NormStormLOL. And if you like the background music at all, you can send your compliments over to the creator Poorchoice over on his SoundCloud or Facebook. So thank you again so much for watching. If you would like to further your support of the show, you're always free to leave a like, comment, or share to your heart's content. Don't forget to check out the Pro Tournament results video for this week, and I'll see you guys in the future with some more League of Legends content.